Do you want to bend sound to your will and create madly complex patches that would make State Azure jealous? We're going to look at several tricks to help you improve your modular patches. But first, I want to tell you about this.
Doctor, why am I always so tired? Doctor, why am I always so tired?
I'm a big fan of the sound and raw power that you can get from a modular system. It's like an almost endless supply of different oscillators and effects that you can purchase, if you have the purchasing power, that is. Virtually any type of synthesis you want, with any type of filter, and sequencing and randomization, yeah, that's where modular shines. Unfortunately, most of us don't have $5 to spend on something the size of a bread box, so software is the next best thing. VSTs like Falcon, VCV Rack, and my latest favorite synth, Hyperion, also allow you to do most of the same things that modular hardware does, minus the yards of wires and blinking lights and hours of manual labor at a dead-end job to save up enough money to purchase just like the box to put everything in.
This case is empty.
Ouch. The beautiful thing with software is that you can spend hours creating the perfect setup. And instead of having to tear it all down to build something else, you can save it as a preset. And creating presets is one of my favorite things to do. Once I really started getting the feel of this modular beast, I thought, why not enter the ring of software developers and release a preset pack? So I reached out to this guy. This is Paul, expert programmer and developer of both Hyperion and its sister app, Thea. Paul originally hails from that other country somewhere across the sea, where a lot of famous musicians are from. I asked Paul if he would be in favor of me creating a preset pack for Hyperion, and of course he said yes. I mean, I wouldn't have a video if he said no. Anyway, Paul got me in touch with the guys from Tracktion, and after several months of patch building and testing and more patch building and looking at different pieces of cover art, it's finally here. We're going to go through how I created some of the patches, but first, a few sound demos would be in order. Sample and hold is the key to the movement you hear in a lot of my patches. It's basically a randomizer, and it is one of the options in the LFOs on Hyperion. Sample and hold works great with pads, drones, and granular stuff, and I originally used it to create the actual sample for this patch. The original patch came from Hyperion, which was run through a bunch of VSTs, and then I imported it back into Hyperion, so it has the movement baked in. The SNH just adds more on top, and that's the beauty of adding in some randomization. Being subtle by narrowing your range is usually a good idea, and a lot of times using subtle SNH on several different things like filters and effects, or the wet-dry mix can really make a patch come alive.
Dr. Y.
You will need your subwoofer for this one. I love this patch because it gives you that super low hertz drone that you hear on board all the spaceships in those great 70s and 80s movies. You know that sound. It's the sound of the giant engines that make you feel inconsequentially small when compared to the vast emptiness of space. You can see the amount of energy below 100 hertz is huge, and it peaks at around 50. The rumble comes from two things. One, there's that pesky sample and hold LFO again, only this time we're using it on the grain length. Two, just a little bit of bit crusher gives this patch a faint high-end sound, like some sort of radio disturbance that pairs really nice with the low drone. Notice that there are 3 sample and hold LFOs on the bit crusher alone. Each of these has a data smoother, and this prevents the abrupt jumps and gives you some nice smooth changes. Finally, the evolving keys patch is set with the volume down low. By lowering the volume of that patch, the melody almost takes a back seat to the drone, and it allows you to use a patch like this over dialogue in a movie, because it's not crowding out that frequency range. It also makes it sound distant and far away. For this one, we're going to make channel pressure do something unusual. Just like a really complex modular instrument, this combi employs 5 different patches, each with its own kind of movement going on. All that random movement makes it sound very organic and gives this a very nice atmospheric cinematic feel. The star of the show here, however, is the channel aftertouch. There are 2 different odd pitch changes, each coming from a different patch. The first is from the FM crossfade patch. Here, the aftertouch is hooked up to the play speed of the granulator, which, just like speeding up or slowing down a tape, will create a change in pitch. The fact that it's hooked up to a granular module is what gives it a unique sound. The second comes from the high-end sparkle, where aftertouch will split this filter right here, and the result is that otherworldly alien bird kind of sound that you're hearing. Finally, the 5 try-me knobs are hooked up to a multitude of different things, and the reverb and granular gives the patch some space and a wind/waves vibe. This is another patch that uses the play speed on the granulator, but this time a little differently. Here, the attached ADSR curve creates just a little bit of a bump. There is also a slight delay so that the pitch bend is after the transient of the bell. This is one of my favorite patches. That's it for this week. Thanks for watching. If you are interested in my very first preset pack, head over to Tracktion and pick it up. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I will see you on the other side of the mountain.
Go ahead and pack up your stuff and move it down there.
But no,
that would be terrific.
I was told
Okay.
I could stay. Excuse me. I believe you have my stapler.